Yep, it's really raining hard out. In fact, it looks like it's going to be raining this hard for the next few days. So this is an ideal time to do a lubrication quality test. I know you're thinking, well, Ken, what's that going to be like? So let's just see how well certain types of lubricant hold up when you put them on some bare metal and stick them out in the heavy rain. The first thing I did was choose 4 lubricants. 3 are commonly used and the 4th one is not so common. It may actually be new to some of you. But along with the lubricants, I had to find the right steel because I couldn't put anything with any kind of a coating on it. I had to put a steel out in the rain that would rust very quickly and really put these lubricants to the test. So I chose a brake rotor that's just been removed from the car, and you all know how fast these rust. In fact, I'm sure many of you've washed your car and you look under there and the rotor's already rusting just 10 minutes after you finish washing the car. So I feel that this is the ideal steel to test these 4 lubricants. What I've done is I've divided the rotor into 4s and written on it very clearly what I'm using, both on the front and the back in case it washes off in the rain. So let me show you the 4 lubricants and then you'll get to watch me put them on. I'm not going to be cheating here. You're going to see me put them on. I'll try to get each one on as thick as I can. And then we're going to go outside and leave it out in the rain for a week or longer and then come back and show you the results. The first lubricant I'm going to apply is WD-40. This is probably the best known and most common of all the lubricants I'm going to test here. Now I've taken this quarter section of the rotor, marked it off, and I'm going to spray this on as thick as I can. Okay? Just try not to get it over on the other areas, so I'm not going to come out to the edge. Okay, see that? I'm not even going to wipe it off. It's obviously going to want to drip off because this isn't very thick. But I'm just going to let that sit and soak in. The next one I'm going to use is automatic transmission fluid. You've seen my videos. You know I like automatic transmission fluid for lubricating a number of things on cars. So we're going to take this curved tip syringe and put on a good coating. Now this isn't synthetic automatic transmission fluid, by the way. This is Dextron 3 or 4. So just so you know, that's not synthetic. All right, now let's wipe this around. Once again, I'm not going to come right up to the edge because I don't want to overlap the other lubricants. Okay, that's pretty good. Now the next lubricant I'm going to use is synthetic grease. You also know that I'm a real fan of synthetic grease. This is one of the applicators I use to lubricate ignition locks. So you like to have a real fine coating going in here. So I'll just keep squirting this on. Okay, that's probably good. And I'm going to spread it out. Okay, now the final lubricant I'm going to apply is called anti-corrosive gel. And this is quite thick. It's very thick and very sticky. I've just started using this in and around engine compartments, and I'm pretty impressed with what it can do to prevent corrosion, particularly on magnesium engine parts. So we'll take some of this anti-corrosive gel. You can see how thick that is, and you can see also from the glove just how sticky it is. Now I've never done this test before, so even I am kind of interested to see what the results will be. But let me tell you, it's raining hard up here in the Pacific Northwest, and the forecast looks like the same for the next week or so. So we're going to take this outside now and set it right in the middle or off to the side of the parking lot and just let it get drenched. And when I feel it's been adequately rained on, I'll bring it back in and we'll show you the results. It's been 10 days and I'm back. There it is. Looks pretty rusty, doesn't it? I mean, we had some really bad weather. In fact, yesterday was hailing, and when I went out this morning to pull it off the old bench I left it on, I had to beat it off because it was frozen. So it had ice all over it. and I had to bring it into the shop and let the ice melt off and dry off. So this is kind of what you see now. After it's dried off a little bit, it's really rusty. See how bad it would have been if I hadn't have put any lubricant at all on it. But we've got a couple sections in here that don't look too bad. So let's take a close look, and I'll kind of go over each section. You can see up close the extent of the rust or the lack of it, okay? You know, it's a good thing I used paint marker to designate each of these 4 sections, because I'm looking here, it looks like the Sharpie marker would have eventually washed away. But I'm going to start and go around in the same sequence that I applied the lubricants 10 days ago, and we'll start with the WD-40. I've had a lot of people over the years ask me what I think about WD-40, and this probably tells the story better than me saying anything at all. But what I've learned is that WD-40 is better than nothing. But if you're going to use WD-40, you better be applying it every 30 days or so on, particularly if it's exposed to moisture or any type of high concentration of water. This would be exterior parts of the car, inside the door panels, and so on. This didn't look too bad for after about the 2nd or 3rd rain, but you can see eventually as the WD-40 washed off, then the rust went after it with a vengeance. Now I move around here to the transmission fluid, and you can see that eventually the transmission fluid held up a little bit longer. Once again, this is not synthetic transmission fluid, but eventually the rain got to that because of how thin it is. And it started to rust. And I think if I would have left this out another week, you would probably see this type of rust showing up here, and then of course this would have gotten even worse. So the transmission fluid I've liked over the years. People have asked me, why do you like it? There's 2 reasons I like it. It tends to wick very well. That's why they use it inside all those small orifices inside an automatic transmission. It also tends to hold up reasonably well to moisture, better than WD-40. So because of those 2 properties, I have used automatic transmission fluid to wick into hinge joints, like on hood hinges, linkages, and so on. Okay, now let's move over on to synthetic. Now this is the one that surprised me the most. You know, I've become a real fan of synthetic lubricants over the last 5 years, and almost all the petroleum-based lubricants I have used in the past have been replaced with some type of synthetic. This was just a light coating of standard synthetic grease, not fluid, but a grease. Look at how well that held up. I mean, there's a couple little spots, but you wipe this grease away here, and you hardly have any rust showing up. And once again, I'm talking, we had downpours, heavy, heavy downpours. And we had a hail and freezing temperatures. Now this is a good illustration of what would have happened if I hadn't have put any lubrication at all on this brake rotor, because between the synthetic and the anti-corrosive gel, I left a section. You can see how badly that rusted. But what surprised me was that the anti-corrosive gel, which is a thick, sticky substance, did allow a little bit of moisture to get underneath. You can see these dark areas where it actually looks like it started to corrode underneath the gel. It's still quite thick there, but compare that with the synthetic grease here in this particular area. So that's one of the things that really surprised me. I thought that the anti-corrosive gel would outperform the synthetic, but it doesn't look like it did. I have a hunch if I left this in the rain for a month, that the synthetic grease would become the winner. So that kind of confirms what I've known for quite some time and why I'm converting all my greases to synthetic. You know, I've started to use synthetics now in my rear end fluid changes. As far as synthetic oil in engines, that depends a lot on the mileage of the engine and what it's been using in the past. But I tell you, synthetics now in power steering fluids, synthetics now in rear ends, of course, in synthetics in a lot of the lubricants that I have even here in my kit over here. So WD-40, unfortunately for me, will not be part of my lubrication kit. And that's something I don't use. I haven't used WD-40 probably in 10 years. But I do want you to know that I'm going after a different lubricant, and that's a replacement for the transmission fluid. So what I'm after is a synthetic, thin lubricant that I can apply to the ball socket joints on linkages, hood hinges, and so on. This will become the replacement for the transmission fluid that I've used over the years. So I'm currently experimenting with this, and I've got one that's pretty thin. It's a little bit thicker than transmission fluid, but what I'm going to do with the 560 SEC behind me, I'm going to use this on all the throttle linkages. I'm going to use it on the hood hinge and any other hinge type part on the car. And I think what I'll do, just for fun, is I'm going to find another brake rotor here, and I'm going to take transmission fluid, I'm going to take the synthetic fluid that I have here, and I'm going to put both on two sides and set it out. I really want to see how well this thin synthetic fluid that I have really works in the same type of environment that I put this brake rotor in over the last 10 days. I'm going to phase out automatic transmission fluid. I may try synthetic automatic transmission fluid as part of the test. So we have regular petroleum-based transmission fluid, synthetic transmission fluid, and then this synthetic lightweight fluid that you see here. And I'm going to do another test. And I think learning by these type of tests give us a pretty good idea how well certain lubricants are going to hold up in extreme conditions.